I believe the month of May is probably my favorite month of the year. We have so many things in bloom, so tulips and the daffodils and the pear trees, those things, and the red buds are all gone. So now we come with the rose bushes, oh gosh, there's so many different blooming bushes that if you get out in your car and drive around, you're going to see a few beautiful, beautiful sights. And of course, you know that as far as I'm concerned, there is no other place prettier in the month of May than Lexington, Kentucky. No matter which direction you go, the horses, the grass just glistens so green. And of course, we know the horses are out in the field, and those white and black fences surrounding those big farms. It's a sight to behold. I have to admit, I really, really enjoy the beauty of the county and the state. So, it being May, think of all the things that take place during the month of May. My birthday was the first thing. There's Mother's Day coming up, there's Memorial Day, and of course, what is better than school is out and we're getting ready for graduation. Now you can say and think what you please about which rates the highest as far as enjoyment, excitement, the attention, whether it's high school graduation or college. Now I'm going for high school graduation. Why do I say that? Think about it. High school graduation. You've been going to school for 12 years with basically the same group of friends. You started the first grade with them. You graduated with them this month. I say that in reference to small towns mostly, because most of these kids born and raised there. And then after graduation, that's when life opens up and we don't know what is going to take place now. But we're going to concentrate on graduation. The girl in the neighborhood that I grew up with, I played with her in the first grade. We walked to school together every day for 12 years. Yeah. There were others in the neighborhood, pick up, one here, one there, the next block. But everybody walked to school. The town was the size that you could walk. We didn't have school buses, in fact. So you think about 12 years with these people. And now it's a new beginning. A new beginning. College is a little different. You didn't grow up with 99% of those students. You probably knew the closest ones maybe 2 years, maybe 3. And once graduation is over, they're gone. You may or you may not see them again. But those that you grew up with, you will see them again because they come back home pretty often during the first few years. So They're the ones I like to think about. Graduation day, how exciting it is. The girls all wore white dresses. Now I'm going to describe my dress for you. And I'm also going to tell you I weighed 100 pounds. That's the important thing. The other thing is, it was an era of the crinolines. Girls, do you remember wearing the crinolines? Ooh, they held your skirt out. And I had one of those. You see them on advertising the 1950s on Facebook. And they always show these pretty fitted to the waist dresses, and the skirts just flow, and you know they're wearing a crinoline under that skirt. I was wearing a crinoline the night of graduation. I was wearing a pair of white mesh high heels, open toes. The aisle in the church slanted. I'm telling you, it was all I could do to get down that entire aisle to the pulpit where they were handing out our diplomas. I didn't think I was going to make it. Those heels were high and they wobbled. But I had on my pretty white organdy. Do you know what organdy is? Men, doesn't matter. But the women, you know what organdy is, because it takes 2 hours to iron it. And it wrinkles bad. And it's stiff. But it sure does make pretty dresses. My dress was a handmade dress that night. As I came down the steps outside of the church, you could see between my crinoline and my skirt, the dress was so stiff and the crinoline was so stiff, and those standing down on the sidewalk looked up and watched me come down those steps, and they could see all the way up between my skirt and my crinoline. They were so stiff. But it was a pretty dress. Now, there weren't too many exciting things to do during graduation. Nobody was having any parties. The proms, the thing. We didn't even get to have a prom because we didn't have, but let me see, we had 7 boys. The boys had gone off to war. Yeah, it was during the Korean War. And they'd all joined the army. We didn't have enough boys in the class to have a dance. So we had a banquet. And I got to wear my one formal, my turquoise net dress. It had come to the floor when I first wore it for the Maypole dance in 1951. Yes, full net turquoise with tiny straps. Beautiful dress. So by the time I was senior, had the dress cut off and had an extra row of net over the skirt. It had stays that went all the way down to my hips. Fitted all the way down to my hips. Yeah. Oh, those were days we dream about now. But there was something about that month of May that I remember. And first, I have to say that young people didn't drive cars much in those days. There might be a family car because most people worked in town. You could walk to work. We walked to school. We didn't need a car for that. But there were a couple of girls in my class They got their driver's license when they were 16, and their daddy let them use the car at night to run around town. That's what you did. You piled a bunch of girls in the car, and you drove up and down Main Street and out Cumberland Falls Highway, around the drive-in where you got your Coke, and you sat and sipped on that Coke for 30 minutes or an hour. The drive-in didn't make a lot of money off the teenagers then, but they sure had a lot of business. So you got together, as many as you could get in the car, and you drove around town at night. Now, we had learned there was going to be a movie filmed around Corbin. It was going to be filmed down at Cumberland Falls. You know where Cumberland Falls is. It's well known because it's the only moon bow in the world. And people come many, many miles during a full moon to see the moon bow. Okay, that actually on graduation night was where all the kids went. They went to Cumberland Falls where we had a beach. Actually had a beach down below the falls. And that's where all of the graduates went, took their treats and their drinks and what have you. Now, Corbin was a dry county, so you didn't find any alcoholic beverages unless someone sneaked it under their coat. But that's where they went on graduation night to have fun and to celebrate. Now, just before this, that's when we heard a movie is going to be filmed here. Burt Lancaster. If you have a VCR, like I used to have, I've got a VCR tape. And that VCR tape says The Kentuckian. That was the name of the movie to be filmed, Burt Lancaster. We were so excited. I remember being in the back seat of my friend's car. Now, her dad was a car dealer, so he could pick up a car if he needed one during the day. He had plenty of cars there at the dealership that he could take around town. So his daughter got the car for the day. We piled in there, and off to the falls we went. Now, this was about a 18-mile drive through the park and down to where the beach was. Now, above the falls was the ferry. I remember being on the ferry once. Daddy was taking us across the river to another county. Once you crossed the river, you were in another county. But they had to put the car on the ferry. Now, you may not think much of that, but I was just a kid. And they chained our car on that ferry. And I can remember the noise and the rattle. That was scary because when I looked to my right, I could see the falls. I think it's about a 125-foot drop. that chain broke on that ferry, you were bound to go over the falls. That would be it. Well, of course, that's all I could think about. The chain's going to break. We're not going to make it across the river. But we did. And that's the only time I ever was on the ferry at Cumberland Falls. Now, right about that location, the water was low. You could see the rocks standing up in the river. It was so low that Burt Lancaster and his cast could skip across the river on those huge flat rocks. We were going to Cumberland Falls, and we were going to meet Burt Lancaster. Oh, you can imagine, 17, 18-year-old girls. Good manners went out the window. We were having so much fun, and we couldn't wait till we got there. We arrived, we looked around. We didn't see any trailers. We didn't see any trucks. We didn't see any people. Where's Burt Lancaster? He's not here. What do you mean he's not here? They finished their filming above the falls with Burt Lancaster and the little boy that played his son in the movie. They skipped across that river on the rocks. The water was so low. Now, you talk about disappointment. It couldn't get any worse than that. Here we were, so excited. And our movie star isn't here. They had finished the filming and were gone. They were going to another part of the state. And that's where they were going to film a riverboat. You know, the one with the big wheel on it. They were going to do scenes on the riverboat. Now, in the movie, Burt Lancaster and his son had some sort of confrontation, and they had to get off that riverboat, and they dove into the river. Well, they weren't going to let this little boy dive into the river. You know that. That would be pretty risky. Just so happened that one of our classmates, he was very short, he could stand in for this kid. He was just the right size to stand in for this kid. So he had already graduated from high school a year before. He was old enough to be able to take care of himself, and he could swim. That was one of the important things. He could swim. So he and Burt Lancaster dove into the river and swam to shore. That was my friend, not the little actor with Burt Lancaster. Now, it's funny how something that simple sticks in your mind. Nothing much happened, but it was the anticipation of seeing a movie star. None of us had ever been anywhere to see a celebrity. They didn't come to our town. There weren't enough people in the town to come see them anyway. So we never saw celebrities and stars, dignitaries in our town. So the anticipation of getting to see this handsome Burt Lancaster was drained from us. We didn't get to see him. But I'll tell you this. I've got the videotape of the Kentuckian. But my VCR tore up. Now, I don't have a VCR to play it on. I don't know if they still sell them or not. But I've got several VCR tapes that I saved. One of them was a series on PBS that I had recorded called The House of Elliot. It was about two sisters who were clothing designers. Oh, right up my alley, I'm telling you. They designed the most beautiful clothes I'd ever seen. So I have the videotapes, but no VCR. So anyway, I'll hold on to them. Someday somebody will come along that still has their VCR and ready to get rid of it. Maybe they'll offer it to me. So, thinking of it being the month of May, I suppose every year the graduation day is the day of the year. It definitely is. And I still think that for remembrances, your high school graduation outweighs your college graduation. Because you knew those classmates for as many as 12 years. You knew everything about them. You ran around with them. You went to slumber parties. I went to slumber parties. Don't have any photographs, but I remember the slumber parties. They were fun. I remember walking to school every day with my friend. She's gone now. She had red hair, big brown eyes. We went to the movie every Saturday. My mother gave me a quarter. Her daddy gave her a quarter. And off to the theater we went every Saturday to see a double feature. That's one of the reasons I can remember so many movies and so many stars, is because I saw nearly all of them at the Hippodrome Theater. A quarter a week was my allowance. That sticks in your memory, and every time I watch the movie channels, yeah, I remember that movie. But there's one on right now with Jeanette MacDonald, and Nelson Eddy is not in this movie. But she's gorgeous, and it's one I never saw. I don't think. I don't remember seeing it. It's in Technicolor, though. And she was gorgeous then. You remember Jeanette MacDonald, don't you, as a singer? Her and Nelson Eddy could take the roof off the house. Those are some of the stars I recall from my high school days and from my friend that I grew up with and walked to school with every day. We graduated together. I know the young people today, I don't know if you can appreciate that kind of relationship or not. People move a lot. They change jobs. They go from state to state. But my family stayed in one town. The house that my sister now lives in, my daddy built it 100 years ago. I'm hoping that house stays on after we're all gone. 100 years is a long time for a family to live in one town. So my sister is still living in the old home place. And she's got a birthday coming in about 2 weeks. 2 weeks, about 3 weeks. She's going to be 90 years old. Yeah, 90 years old. I'm the youngest. Oh, 88 years old. She's going to be 90. And my other sister, I'm thinking, will come and we're going to celebrate the birthday. My other sister is 95. There's the 3 of us left. And I said, we have to get together because we don't know which one of us might not get to attend the next birthday. So I thought there's going to be Memorial Day too. I haven't been going to the cemetery in the last few years, but I remember going with my mother and dad year after year. And you know, folks, the craft line, decorating, those things have been with me as long as I can remember. Because Mama would go out and buy red and green crepe paper and these chenille stems. We called them pipe cleaners. Chenille stems and the green floral tape. And I would cut out roses out of the crepe paper. I'd pull the crepe paper so that it would shape the leaves, the petals, had the green for the leaves, and the floral tape that wrapped all around the stem. And I spent hours and hours. Now, I was just 10 and 12 years old, but I was making all of the roses for my brother's grave every year. So those are the things I remember about Memorial Day. And families came from everywhere. They brought food. If you didn't have enough food, there was enough food in the crowd that you just ate with anybody. They offered you their part of their meal. There were ministers who would preach. There was no small church next door, but they would set up a stand under one of the biggest shade trees. And that's where the pastors of the churches would stand, and they would do their presentations from the Bible. And there was always singing, always. That's the month of May. Graduation, Memorial Day, and a whole lot of birthdays. And it's the month for the beautiful flowers. We can be thankful for the natural beauty we have around us and the blossoms and all of those little nuts and chipmunks and butterflies. We've got it all. And this is the month when we enjoy it. Now, I don't know, but it seems we're getting a bit interrupted in our beauty. The tornado warnings, the weather all around the country, the farmers are being delayed with putting out their crops. It scares you a little bit, but because that's not what we want in the month of May. It's the best month of the year. It's got my birthday in it. But in thinking back about my life and the events that took place in my life, the month of May is still the best. I think it is. Have I got something on my lip? Oh, I saw something black. Oh well, I've got on my pretty red blouse though. Another Goodwill blouse. I kind of like this one. It got that soft, loose, flippity-floppity. And my pretty black glasses. I'm going to be wearing these glasses a lot now. I'm going to be careful to make sure I don't lose them. I've said enough. I really had no purpose in mind for this video. I just hoped that there'd be something about the things I would tell that bring good memories to your mind too, about when you graduated from high school or from college, of course. I didn't graduate from college, but many of you did. So you can make the comparison yourself, which bears the best memories, not the most memories, but the best memories. Was it high school graduation or was it college graduation? I'm going to leave you with that thought, and you can let me know how you feel about the month of May. Thank you for watching me.